Hi, this is Patty Lapone.
This is Allison Janney.
This is Matt Balmer.
This is Donna Murphy.
This is Nia Vardalis.
This is Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
This is Beanie Feldstein.
I'm Octavia Spencer.
This is Ben Platt, and you're listening to Little Known Facts with my favorite person on the planet, Alana Levine.
A-OK. Welcome to Little Known Facts, a podcast where you will hear unfiltered, raw, honest, and uniquely funny interviews with artists you love as they talk about the art they love to make. I'm your host, Ilana Levine. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? I know that this time has been really rough, and I am so grateful that I found a therapist through BetterHelp online counseling service, and I want you to have the same emotional relief that I have. And I have to tell you, it is the easiest therapy experience I've ever had. The way it works is BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you will be communicating with that person in under 48 hours. It is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not always be locally available to everyone, but now, because of this online service, it doesn't matter where you live. You will have access to an incredible therapist to suit your very specific needs. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. So go to their website. You can read thousands of testimonials from people like me who have had such a great experience with this online therapy service. And for you to start feeling better, just go visit betterhelp.com/knownfacts. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. So, for you to get 10% off your first month of therapy, just go to betterhelp.com/knownfacts. That's betterhelp.com/knownfacts. It works.
Support for this podcast comes from Invent Together. I bet you didn't know that inventing activity by Black inventors peaked in 1899, and it has never recovered. Black and Hispanic college graduates patented half the rate of white college graduates. That's just one of the reasons why you need to know about Invent Together. When our patent system gets more diverse, our nation will get stronger and more successful. Find out how you can help diverse inventors and unleash economic opportunity at inventtogether.org.
Hey, I heard you needed inspiration. He's Alana and friends with some revelations. Little known fact of the day. Every little thing's gonna be A-OK. Little known fact about my guest today, she had a message and she thought it was a response to her Starbucks application, but actually it was a message about her audition for Spring Awakening, which actually went really well because they wanted her to star in Spring Awakening, and she did, and so many other things after that. Welcome, Kimiko Glenn, to the podcast. A-OK. Hey everyone, my guest today is the award-winning actress Kimiko Glenn. Kimiko is best known for her work as Brooke Soso in Orange is the New Black. She is also the voice of Penny Parker in the Oscar-winning animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. She has many TV and film credits, but some of those include Liza on Demand, Ghosting, High Maintenance, Broad City, Sacred Lies, Can You Keep a Secret, and Nerve. She originated the role of Dawn in the Broadway musical adaptation of Waitress and was part of the first national tour of Spring Awakening. She has a huge voiceover career, and she wrote, directed, and produced the short film All That Jazz, A Day in the Life of Roxanne Gayheart. I am so honored and happy to have Kimiko Glenn on the podcast today. Hello, friend. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I am so happy to have you here today. I listened to you on the original Broadway cast recording of Waitress All the Time, and the amount of joy you have brought me and my family just in our ears alone, let alone all the incredible animated voice work you do. And then there's Orange is the New Black, like the different things, the different lanes that you travel in.
Very different.
Very different. And then your own creativity and your own work that you get to do. It's just awe-inspiring. And so I'm so happy to have some time with you today. And I guess what I'd love to talk about just to start is sort of you really do a lot of things. And so where the seed was planted, that has grown into the creative life that we get to reap the benefits of as your audience. But like, what was the beginning of that?
Well, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and I don't totally remember I think I just had this creative energy about me as a kid. I just I remember getting like a Celine Dion album, and it was like my first CD album. I think I got it for Christmas. Falling Into You, if you know it. And
I do, as it turns out.
I love Celine Dion. She's my hero. So I just was like obsessed with her singing and also imitating her crazy accent. And I think my parents just like saw that in me, and I just like I would imitate her all the time. I would steal my dad's camcorder and run around and create commercials. I had this news show called Happy Cup News, and I would give you the news, which was nothing, because I was just like a little kid. There's a lot of home footage that I have to say, I have to shoot my own horn, I'm hilarious.
I absolutely do not doubt that for 1 second.
Yeah, so I was doing that, and my parents were like, let's like harness this energy and let's try to figure out how we can use this for good, because it's just loud at this point. I was like hell-bent on making it as loud as possible. And then they just asked me if I wanted to audition for a musical, and I was like, yes. And then I did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I
never looked back.
I never looked back. I never even thought about, whether or not I was going to audition for the next thing. It was just what I was doing.
Did you end up going to, did you study musical theater in college? Was that the goal?
Yeah, I mean, the goal wasn't to just like, yeah, I went to college at Boston Conservatory, and yeah, I didn't really know what else to do, but I sort of wanted to get into a university. I really enjoy learning, and I don't think, putting all your energy into one thing is like, I don't know, especially when it comes to acting, you have to have a full life. You have to have a bunch of knowledge to draw from in order to be the best, or just to even apply it. So I was a little like, I don't know if this is for me. I loved, like, for what it was an amazing experience, because it's a great school. But for me, I was like, I don't know if this is quite right. Maybe I will, go to culinary school instead. Mm-hmm. So I was applying for culinary school, and also applying. Oh,
you were not joking. You mean literally, maybe I'll go to culinary school as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get too far along in the process.
Okay.
I was also
but you were exploring.
I was exploring my options, because I was like, I think I need to leave this school. I don't think like a conservatory is right for me. But at the same time, I was like, I need a job. So I was like applying for Starbucks in the area in Boston. And then I got a call because I had auditioned for Spring Awakening at an open call just like 7 months before, completely out of sight, out of mind. And I thought it was like someone from Starbucks giving me a call about my application. And it was Carrie Gardner, who was helping Jim Carnahan cast Spring Awakening. And she was like, she left me a message and basically was like, we'd like you to come to New York for a few days to do a final callback. And I was like, whoa. And so in the middle of me applying for culinary school, I ended up getting Spring Awakening, which was an insane first start to a career, you know?
Did you know the show?
I did. I was a big fan. I had gone on a senior trip to New York and we saw Spring Awakening and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I was like a fan of Ragtime and I knew Leah Michelle was the little girl in Ragtime. And I was like, well, she's all grown up and she's doing it. She's now a lead. That's amazing. And I was just like, I thought the show was just unbelievable. So I actually went back a second time during that trip. Instead of seeing another show, I went back. And I think I even have some pictures of me with Johnny B. Wright and maybe John Groff and John Gallagher at the stage door, like, as a fan. And then, so I loved the show. And so it was like really thrilling to have gotten it. I mean, I have a lot of belief in myself, but it was pretty cool.
Was it an intense audition process?
Yeah, I mean, anything that age is pretty intense. But at the same time, I think I would have been more stressed out now in my life.
Sort of knowing what it means or what makes you say that?
Yeah. Well, also I have boundaries for myself now, but it might just simply be because I've done enough stuff where people go, okay, I get it. But I will be like, I'm not auditioning for 3 days in a row, you guys. Like, I can show you what you need in like 20 minutes tops.
Right.
You know, come on. And like even the Baby Shark process was kind of slightly more rigorous. I've played Baby Shark on Nickelodeon. Was slightly more rigorous than most other auditions. I had to do it like 3 times, and the last time I was like, guys, we don't need to do a chemistry read. I've done these sides before. You have it recorded a few times. You're fine. And so thankfully it worked out. I just believe in myself, but I was like, I don't want to give myself another opportunity to mess this up, you know?
Right.
That's also part of it.
No, I get it. It gets worse. I mean, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to get in my head about this. I don't want to be like, I should do it different.
Yeah.
Like what I'm doing is right, you know? And so I think the longer it goes sometimes, especially if you don't have the part, it's like, I don't know. I will sabotage myself.
It takes so much to find your voice in this industry. I mean, really in any industry. I mean, you were probably were you 19 when you auditioned for that tour?
I was 17 and then 18, I think, it was between 17 and 18.
Right. So not even like, I mean, I have a 17-year-old daughter, and just imagining what you're describing, like a 3-day, unbelievably rigorous,
put you up in a hotel
alone, right?
Yeah,
like,
in a city you don't know.
Yeah.
Get to this place that you don't know where it is. Yeah, with all these kids you're up against surrounding you.
But you got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how, but I'm thankful because
somehow you held on to yourself.
Yeah, I've always just had this innate belief in myself. Like I grew up with like a sparkle inside me. That sounds so corny, but like I grew up feeling like I had so much to offer and I was special somehow. And I don't know if that was something I was just born with, or something that I learned along the way, but I was just like, I know that I'm like meant to do something, you know? And so I always hold on to that, especially in these scenarios, especially when I'm rejected, you know, because I know, especially over time, and I'll tell younger actors this who want to get into it, who maybe haven't jumped into the professional world yet, persistence is key in a lot of ways. Like so much of the time you're just trying to gain the trust of people and it has nothing to do with your talent. People they have a laundry list of people that they could just call up and they're like, we know this person's consistent, but like when you're starting out, I know a lot of people who just like quit after a couple months after getting out of school, after paying like hundreds of thousands of dollars for school. And it's like, well, it's not a reflection of you. that you're not getting cast. It's just you have to put in the time. And I know so many people who hadn't worked for years and years and years and years, and finally they get a job, and it's like a great job that put them on the map, and now they're working consistently. And I know that for myself, like there are things that I really wanted and didn't get and put my all into, and then that door shut for another thing to open, and I would never have done this thing that, you know, brought me so much, whether it be career wise or like personally, that I would have never had that experience had I done this other thing, you know? So I don't know why that I'm so tangential, but but that is something that I carry with me as I, you know, audition and get rejected or get a job. And, you know, I try and remember that.
When you think about like, when you say like, I don't know if it was born with it, this beautiful sparkle, as you described it, what was the messaging in your house? Like, where are your parents from? What was their relationship to the arts and your clearly like ridiculous amount of talent? But you said they like sent you to start doing stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. My parents are, I love this because my family they're a heady bunch. They're just very logical and so smart. My dad is a software engineer. He's incredibly good at what he does. My mom is a tax preparer, but she also does about a billion things. She writes a newsletter for her Japanese community in Arizona, and she used to teach Japanese. And she really wears a lot of hats. Actually, recently she took up the drum. She's 71. The drum kit, by the way, not just like a bongo or something light. It's a full drum kit. And she's really good because she's dedicated and practices all the time, and she loves it. She takes lessons. She practices at least an hour a day, if not several. Every time I call her, she's on the drums. It's so
okay,
cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
She is my hero.
She is my hero fully.
Yes.
I just love her. And yeah, when it comes to where I got the artistic side from, it's funny. I mean, I want to say like my grandpa was like a pianist and a painter. And my mom's sister loves the opera. She's super cultured. She speaks 6 or 7 languages.
Wow.
And travels the world. And her daughters are like, one is works for the arts in Brooklyn and all this stuff. And so I don't know, there's an artistic side there, but on my dad's side, I'm like, I don't really know. I think it maybe it's a past life thing. I don't totally know, but
Interesting.
I just had an energy. And I think that what it was with them is they were just so supportive. They may not have understood it at first. And then they got to understand it as they were supporting me and like, you know, started helping to build the sets or paint the whatever or sew the costumes, and, you know, were there at the theater with me sometimes. But I think they just like, I sang so loud. I was so loud, and my mom never told me to shut up. You know, I would sing so like I would make it my mission to be as loud as possible in the car screaming these songs, and it would just be me and her, and she would just eyes on the road, just not like, I don't know if she just learned how to zone it out or it was just like, this will be useful someday. But she just put up with it. And I think because I was allowed to just like, I would sing a part. If it wasn't perfect, I would rewind. I would sing a part. If it wasn't perfect, I would rewind. And like, maybe that's how I got to be a skilled singer, because I was just trying to perfect it, and I would do it in the car with her, and she would just let me do it. And we wouldn't sit in silence or whatever. I was able to just like practice and be crazy in the car. So I don't know. That's like one of the things that I think really was helpful.
Yeah.
They just never told me, don't be as loud as possible. I think I tickled them. I think I made my dad laugh a lot. And I think my mom was just like, okay, like she's so chill.
Right.
I think it just had something to do with that combination.
I love that so much. I love that. The freedom to be you.
Yeah.
is pretty incredible. Um, were they okay with you leaving school to
Um,
pursue this? Was that a big conversation, or did it organically unfold?
leaving leaving home, you mean?
No, the conservatory, to do this
Oh,
tour.
oh yeah. They were like, yes, go make money instead of make us pay out of pocket for this school that costs $1 million. Of
Yes,
course,
I
please.
love it. I
This
love
is
it.
the path. And they knew because they were on that trip with me to New York, and I think they had seen Spring Awakening, or yeah, they must have gone to see Spring Awakening too. They know my passion for theater and Broadway, and I was listening to the album nonstop in the car after that, and so they knew like it was a huge deal. Just simply by me talking about like I was just obsessed with the theater world, and so they knew what was hot, what was not.
And
And
were
they
you
knew.
listening to Broadway cast recordings growing up in the house? Like, was that their introduction to Broadway sort of through you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, those Broadway recordings are so it.
I mean, you ended up doing a cast album that has become, for millions of people, a touchstone in so many ways. Um, and your perfection on it.
It's so special that I'm on a Broadway cast recording. I i can't even describe or believe it. Like, I think at the time I was so um you know, busy and kind of frazzled. I am a perfectionist in the booth, and so it was that day of recording was like, I think the ensemble stuff was like the joyous moments because I didn't care like if my voice didn't sound like perfection.
Right.
But on all the solo stuff, I was like kind of militant about, I think we did the last take of When He Sees Me, which is probably what ended up making it on the album. And I was like, as soon as it ended, I was like, can we do it again? And they were like, they turned on the thing and they were like clapping and like cheering. And I was like, they're like, no, that was great. And I was like, wait, but can we? And they're like, seriously, it's great. Stop. And then yeah, it was just like, it was a whirlwind. I don't know. I but I'm just so grateful that I made it on there. And sometimes I'll listen to it and be like, this is special. And I knew going into it that it was going to be special.
The
You don't
show.
oh the show, but the album, I was like, this is Sarah Bareilles. She has made so many pop albums. She knows how to make this like the best of the best Broadway albums, and it's mixed a little differently than some of the Broadway shows too. Um, and I think, I don't know, I just knew. I, and I knew when I signed up to do it that it was going to be special.
Can you talk about how that show came into your life?
Yeah, so I actually didn't get cast. And I was so upset because I wanted it so bad. I listened to the song, Sarah Bareilles singing the demo, and I was like, this is the song. This is my dream. This is little Kamiko, baby Kamiko's, like, she would look up to the person that sings this so hard. This would be her role. She wouldn't care about the Jenna part. She would be obsessed with Dawn. And so I knew, I was like, I have to get this part. So I was, crazy. I think I saw some people in the audition room. They're like, oh yeah, this song's crazy. It's like 10 pages. I didn't memorize it. And I was like, I spent my whole life preparing for this moment. I've made myself a total hermit for the past 5 days, like gotten down every single beat, like made sure all the vocals were like on point, all this stuff. And I just remember when, like, I even printed out a lyric sheet and like highlighted in different colors so I could just like kind of peek down if I needed to, instead of like it was like an 11-page flip on the music. And so I like did that for myself so I could nail the audition. I did. Like, they all applauded at the end, which they don't do ever. And I knew I killed it, and I think I just hadn't convinced Diane Paulus. I don't know this, it's just my speculation, but I think I just seemed too young in comparison to Kale and Jesse.
Right.
So that was kind of my thing, and this was for the workshop, they were casting kind of people who just seemed a bit older, or, and I don't want to, the people aren't old that I'm talking
No, just older than you were at the time. Yeah.
I look 10 years younger than I actually am, and they look their age. So
exactly.
I think that was part of it, but they apparently always used me as a benchmark for it ever since that moment. And they had asked me to do certain iterations of it that I couldn't do because.
So they did. They came back at different points.
I don't know if they asked me to do it, or if they asked me to audition again.
Oh.
Yeah. So I knew that they were like interested still. But I was like, don't re-traumatize me. I really wanted that part.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it because of Orange is the New Black. It was shooting. And then the Broadway situation came about, and I was literally about to move to LA. And they were like, it's you or her, and we just need to make sure. And I was like, and it was one of those like several day process, chemistry read, blah, 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 blah. And I was literally like floating outside myself, so freaked out, like I wanted it so bad. And I didn't know what it was that was the thing that they didn't want or didn't work about it. And so I overthought the crap out of it. But ultimately, I don't know why they cast or didn't cast me, but it ended up working out. It was so stressful, but I just remember opening night being absolutely surreal, because it was like I didn't care about being famous or recognized or part of a big internationally acclaimed show or whatever. Like I never cared about that. All I wanted to do was Broadway, and this was my Broadway debut. And so it was like this insane high. Like my body was just literally like flying through the air the whole time. Even like I was like a month of previews, like you'd think that I'd be like, oh, it's just another night, but I was flying.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And are you said that you were going to maybe go to LA, but Orange is the New Black was still filming, right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're juggling, I mean, that show, speaking of like global sensation, right? I mean, when you started that musical, it has become that. Your instinct was, this is so special, but you couldn't even know what that show was going to become like internationally, although it sounds like you did understand how good it was. But Orange is the New Black, that is like one of the biggest, that was huge. It still is, but when that came on the scene, and you were starring on that show too.
Yeah, I mean, I came on the second season, so I knew I was in the middle of watching it when I got the audition. So I like checked my email. It says audition for Orange is the New Black, and I thought I was tripping out. So I knew it was a huge thing at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. I mean, there's no way I'm gonna get it. But I was literally in the middle of thinking, this is a dream job. All these women, all these like color, shapes, and sizes, like represented, and they're killing it. And it's so well done. And it's telling a story we haven't seen before. So that I knew going into it that I don't know, that the pressure was on. Because I hadn't really done TV. I had done a pilot for a multicam, and that's basically like theater,
Yeah.
So
very familiar.
Yeah, and it didn't get picked up, and it was just the one episode. But I hadn't really done on camera stuff.
Yeah.
So it was literally like being thrust into this like really pressure cooker situation. Especially because I everyone's wearing the same outfit, like everyone's wearing a jumpsuit. And so I would go in and just be sitting awkwardly in the hallway because I knew these people from TV. I was like, I'm not going to talk to them and be that weird person like, hey, Taylor, what's up? You know, they'll be like, what? Okay, I get it. I'm recognizable. I'm this international sensation. You know, they weren't like that, but
no, but you fantasized that that's what would happen.
Like, I'm just gonna sit quiet here. I don't know how long I'm, gonna be here. Maybe it's I don't know. I think I'm being established, but who knows? And so I was just sitting, for months and months, just in the hallway in a jumpsuit. People probably thought I was background until one day they had like scenes with me, and they're like, "Oh, you play this role that's in the script." I'm like, yeah. And so I started making friends. But anyway, I needed to go to LA because I was getting recognized from the show so much. It was so unmanageable for me. And I was getting really paranoid, and it's just really not a lifestyle that I am used to. No one's used to it when it starts for them, but like,
and are you meaning from Orange is the New Black?
From Orange is the New
Black.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I was
walking so that's around. Why.
Yeah, I was walking around New York City, and there weren't union contracts for that type of show yet because we were the first of our kind, other than House of Cards. So
as a cable show.
Yeah, it had barely been a year that they've existed. So it was like almost like a really good web series.
Right.
But like the pay wasn't enough to like justify getting a cab or like finding ways to protect myself.
Wow.
And a lot of us I didn't because I still had a bit of a savings, but a lot of people had second jobs still. And it was kind of a scary, dangerous situation where I would have to take the subway, and people would be bombarding me or like shoving cameras in my face and recording me, or like giggling and laughing and pointing and all this stuff. And it was traumatic to have that happen. Because when you think famous, you also think rich. But I was like, when I got the job, I was living in low income housing and like at the very end of my savings. So on top of that, not really getting, a ton of money from the show. And then and being in New York City and being so recognizable, especially if you get off the train in Brooklyn, it's impossible.
Yeah.
People would,
that was their show.
This is the demographic. I mean, like, all the hip New Yorkers, but people would literally like grab me and take a selfie and run off, or like scream down the street or run after me. Or it was just kind of horrifying for someone like me who doesn't like that type of attention.
Right.
So I was like, for my mental health, I need to move out of this, because in LA you can kind of control your environment a bit more. You can get in a car to travel. You get to the meeting, you have the meeting, you get back in your car. You're in a cafe. Things are just more separate. Like everything feels like there's space. Like you can extend your arms. In New York, you can't. Like the grocery store experience is like,
And you were so unprotected.
Yeah, and so I was like, I was actually going a little bit crazy in New York. And then
this show Waitress comes up.
Yeah, so I was gonna leave Orange is the New Black, and like I don't say that to be like I was gonna, quit my job, but like I needed to go. And I was like, I'm gonna work it out where I spend 6 months there, 6 months back, and have that be my home base, or I just need to stop doing it because it's really messing with my anxiety. But Waitress came along, and there was no way I couldn't do it. I mean, this was like the opportunity of a lifetime. And so I was like, okay, well, do double duty then. I'll like make myself even more crazy, I guess. So I ended up staying. But yeah, I'm happy now that I'm in LA. I feel a lot more stable.
But you didn't stay in the show for a long time.
Yeah. No,
and is that connected to what you were feeling, what you're just describing?
Oh, there were so many things. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of gun violence happening at the time. There's always gun violence, but like something that just happened was a girl from The Voice had just gotten shot at the stage door. I was this highly recognizable person. People knew where I was every single night. there was a time where an usher ran down the aisle and I thought they were going to kill me. Like
Wow.
because I was just like so freaked out about that. But also I was spread so thin. I was doing double duty, waking up super early to shoot Orange is the New Black, and then, doing the shows. I mean, 8 shows a week, et cetera, et cetera. But at the time, we so Orange is the New Black, the new season, the trailer just dropped and it was going to come out in a month, and a feature film that I had done had just gone into movie theaters, and it was of that same demographic, and the cast album had just come out, so the energy had sort of shifted in the audience where they like knew the music, and it was really exciting. But it felt like, especially being in New York, all eyes were on me. And that sounds very like the world revolves around me. But and everywhere I went, it felt like gasps and whispers and, yelling, and like I couldn't get away from it. And I just got so overwhelmed. And I was doing press for the show. I was rehearsing, every second with the understudies and for the Tonys and everything. So I felt really exposed. And then one night I walked out on stage and I blacked out. I was, for the opening number, like I was front and center doing all the motions and muscle memories, and it was all in muscle memory. And my eyesight went like, when you're about to faint and you just see gray and like sparkles. It was like I couldn't feel my body. Everything was gray and black, and the sounds were super far away.
And you're still doing the show.
I'm still doing everything. I didn't like fall down or anything, but
right.
I'm still doing it. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm in front of thousands of people. Also, the set is about to change. I can't see anything. I could barely hear. But because I think it was like a 20-second moment up on that moment, I got my eyesight back. I like came to a bit more, and then the set changed and I started walking and doing everything. And I was like, whoa, that was insane. And so I was like, that was really scary. But then I kept doing the show, blah, 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 blah. I go off stage and I'm walking in the underpass to go to my song, and it starts happening again. I start blacking out. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? Oh my God, oh my God. I'm like on a moving train. This can't be happening. And so I get to the side of the stage and I tell the stage manager, I'm like, I think I'm having a panic attack or something. And she was like, okay, do you want me to stop the show? And I was like, oh my God, no. And I just like ran out. I was like, there's no way that's happening. Hell no. That's so embarrassing.
Right.
So I run out on stage. And I do the number and everything. And I get off stage and I take like a mini teeny tiny Xanax that I had on hand, just because like sometimes I'll get like really bad anxiety panic attacks, but it would be like once or twice a year, where that would happen. And so I felt fine the rest of the night. And then I wake up the next day and it's like all my brain chemicals were like splattered across the ceiling. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm on an acid trip. And I'm completely sober.
Right.
So it was this crazy experience of I didn't understand what was happening. I've never not been able to control my brain or my body or anything. I had a really hard time walking across the street. I had a hard time even like coaxing myself to get up off the floor. Like I was curled up like on the bathroom floor, talking to myself, like, get up, get up, get up for like 30 minutes, couldn't do it. And I was like, well, I've gotten through a lot of stuff in my life. I will get through this. And so I just never stopped calling out. I would just do the show in a state of intense vertigo and disassociation, where I would float outside myself and I wouldn't be in control. I couldn't tell if I was walking straight. But I was doing the show because I was like, I need to train my brain that this is okay. Like that, because I think my brain thinks that this is an unsafe environment, but really it's fine. I've been doing this. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm strong. I am completely capable. You just have to retrain it, and I didn't have a therapist. I didn't have medication, other than like the Xanax that I just had in my purse randomly.
Were you living alone?
I was living with my ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know, I was really scared about getting on like an antidepressant or something. Because I didn't know how my body would react, and it takes a while for it to kick in. And so I started taking like a subtherapeutic dose of it where it just basically was doing nothing. And I was just relying on Xanax in a way, and it just was unsustainable. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was working out like crazy, trying to like, and I'm not a person who works out. I just knew that this is strong for mental health, right?
Right.
And I was like,
I hear. I
was trying the meditation stuff. I was trying everything I possibly could. I was like hooked up into machines during the day and going to like the show at night, trying to figure out something I could hold on to so this would stop happening to me. But it was full-blown panic disorder, and it couldn't be stopped if I was continuing to do the show. I did it for a month and a half like that.
Right. I can't believe it. I can't believe it because I saw you in the show. But this idea of the show must go on as a bumper sticker, as a credo, actually sometimes the idea that you felt like you couldn't call out, right? It is so ingrained in us. Like, of course, I can have a nervous breakdown, be blind, maybe, have my head decapitated because I can't see in a set piece, right? Like, I'll risk it because of, and it is a privilege to get to do these shows, and it is a privilege to have you in the show. Both things are true, but it is killing me that you had to go through that. And I always think, like, where are the grown-ups? Where are the people going, you don't need to go on right now?
Well, thankfully, and I have to give my managers credit. I had just signed with my managers like a month before, like just like right when, I don't know, just maybe even like a month before I all this started going down, I signed with them, and they were the ones that gave me permission to leave.
Right.
Because
we would never give ourselves permission ever.
I never even considered leaving the show.
Right.
I was like, this is not how it's going to go down. Because I wanted more for myself. I didn't want to feel like I failed and all this stuff, but it just wasn't sustainable. My body was breaking down. My body was like, my hands were starting to smell. No matter how much I washed them, it was like, this sounds kooky as hell, but like it was like the toxins were just bleeding out of my pores. Like my body was under so much stress. And I was so skinny, and people were talking about it online that I was like looked anorexic and stuff. But I was like, I'm burning so many calories on stage, but I also literally the only thing I can drink are Ensures. Those like chocolate drinks that like because I couldn't
almost taste okay.
I couldn't like swallow. I couldn't function, and I don't know. It was through that. I mean, like if they didn't give me permission, something bad would have happened. I would have actually collapsed on stage because I wasn't capable of doing it. And I feel terribly because it was my hard-headedness about it. Also, I had never gone through anything like this before, so I didn't really have many people to like talk to about this. I didn't want it to be real, so I didn't tell the cast really. They just they suddenly started noticing I was into essential oils and like got really quiet and was like, doing weird things to compensate and maybe not showing up like, on stage for, when the curtain was down before the show would start, people would kind of like mingle on stage for the first, like at 5 minutes and just kind of like play around and like ask how each other's day was. And like, I just wasn't going there anymore. I was just doing what I had to do. And like, I would just break down sobbing at the end of the show. And they're like, they knew something was happening, but I wasn't explaining it. I didn't want it to be real. And I was just like, if I don't talk about it, it's just not happening.
Right.
And so I feel terrible because like it was so much of it was my fault. I mean, like even when I took my medical leave for 3 months, I didn't even say any, I think I wrote like one email to like the 3 people I shared scenes with. And I was like, I'm so sorry. This is what's been happening. I don't really know what to make of it. But I didn't want that to be my story, especially because I planned on going back.
Right.
After those 3 months, I didn't want people to look at me like I was damaged or I couldn't do it or like we have to tiptoe, make sure she's okay. I didn't want that to be a thing because I'm stronger than that.
Right. Right.
And it ended up being like 90 days isn't like when you put a time limit on fixing your anxiety, it just doesn't quite work out that way because it's anxiety.
Yeah.
So I didn't end up going back. And one of my biggest regrets about that experience was not being a little more open to the cast anyway about what was going on, because I don't think they fully understood it. I think maybe because I was also still filming Orange is the New Black.
Right.
So they were maybe like, oh, she
chose TV.
Yeah, but it's like, no, that was the only thing I could do. And also like to completely end my life there is not really the best idea either.
Right.
But I knew I couldn't stay on a moving train. That is Broadway.
Yeah.
I knew I had the option while I was shooting, like if I was having a panic attack, to be like, guys, I had been there for like 4 years, guys, I'm having a panic attack. And then they would pause for 10 minutes and then I would move on. It didn't end up happening, thankfully, because once I took the show element out, it was like, I felt
one less thing.
I felt much better because I felt so much pressure to like, I don't know, to continue on despite everything, and not take a breath while I was doing it. And so, yeah, I think there was a bit of confusion there, but this is so tangential. I don't even remember what you asked.
I said, tell me your name.
Yeah, I was there for 3 months and then I left. So that's why, because I was having
That's quite a journey. Did you ever go to see the show?
Oh yeah. I saw it with Jenna Ushkowitz and I saw it with Sarah Bareilles. That was the perk of, being in a show and then not being in a show. I got to go for free.
Well, yeah. And you got to see what you helped create.
Yeah.
And it was all based on you.
Yeah, it was really cool to see different iterations of it and different casts of it. But yeah, I really did try. I tried to go in to close the show. But the contractual things didn't work out. But I really wanted to go back in and I wanted to prove to them and to myself, like, hey, I cared about this show so much. This is like the experience of a lifetime for me. And I'm so sad, like anyone would think otherwise, or like that this happened. I wanted to like to do it because I knew I was strong enough at the time. And it just didn't end up working out, but that's totally fine. Maybe one day they'll ask me to do some sort of something with it, and that'd be cool. But
maybe the West End. Maybe it'll happen. Who knows? Yeah. It's all over. Yeah. The show's in every country in the world. It's yours for the taking at some point. Well, I had no idea. That's an extraordinary story.
Oh, wow.
I only knew that you were in it for a short time. And
I was contracted for a year.
Yeah. And I just think I am so grateful to you for sharing with such honesty and openness what your journey is. It only deepens now when I listen to the cast recording. It will only deepen my experience with it to know the human behind the voice. And it's so important for people to speak out, no matter what their, I don't know, no matter how many followers they have. It's really important to share your truth like that and to destigmatize this. And oh my God, even Kamiko Glenn, right? Who we have this whole, because you are so much joy and you are that sparkle inside you and you do play these characters. I mean, even Brooke, right, was like, I mean, she had her voice on Orange is the New Black. You found it. You were not just a girl in an orange jumpsuit fading into the woodwork. That was what was so incredible about your character, that
Thank
when
you.
she needed to really have a voice beyond, the sweet tree hugger, that she was just this formidable person. And you and Samira, I mean, all of that was just such an incredible addition to an already very intricately woven story of that show. I guess what I want to ask you now, it's like, I mean, that's the joy of voiceover, right? And doing animated work. It isn't your face. You are more protected and can be more private in a way. But have you figured out a way to be the face of something, not just the voice of something? Orange is the New Black. These things live forever. New generations keep finding these things. So have you figured out a way to continue to do what you love, and that you are just so gifted at, and also find a way to be in the world with people who are excited about what you do?
So I think it's just going to constantly be a journey, because I knew, I knew when I was a kid, I love acting, but the attention behind it really freaks me out. And I just always knew that. And I didn't realize to what extent it was going to kind of traumatize me.
Yeah.
But, I think there's so much you have to prioritize, and you have to take a step back and look at your life and understand what's important. And I think so much of what helped me was changing my environment, and doing things that made me feel empowered. A lot of times I write music that